as some stuff that we just announced also. What we're going to be starting off with is using the site that, and actually, let me rephrase that, I apologize. We're going to start with giving Fox just kind of an opportunity to say anything that he would like to open up. But after that, we're going to move to some questions that we had y'all submit through this website that we've started using. We're going to keep flushing that out. But basically, it's a site that allows you to submit questions, and then they can be voted on by others. That way, we can be answering the most relevant questions from the community. So that's going to be today's structure, and then we're going to pull up some people on stage for some live questions as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Fox to open us up.
Thank you, Bowen. So it's been a hard few days for me. There's been a lot of really important questions asked and answered, and a lot of introspection has been done about just trying to make sure that everything and anything that is stuff that hasn't been communicated as well as it should have been in the past. We're at the point now where we need to have all the facts laid out on the table. And there was the thing a few days ago about the initial liquidity, which I addressed. Then there was a lot of questions about loot swap. And that's one that's been tricky because of all of the reasons that I posted in that channel or in that shared Google document that I wrote up. I've gone back and forth on this for a long time about what to say, how to say, and when to say. A lot of the reasons, which I'll probably get into later about that, about why I handled it the way it was, were all out of good intentions of not slandering other projects that were still active, B, not connecting needlessly our projects that weren't actually affiliated, like our teams, needlessly knowledge of them besides me and myself, because everyone on our team was brand new to Harmony, except for me. So I'll answer a lot of those later, but I've been receiving an outpouring of DMs of like words of encouragement from community members that want to let me know that they appreciate and value my individual leadership of the project over the past 8 months, or I guess 9 months even, perhaps now, and that they stand with me and all that. And others have expressed concerns that if there's anything else, we need to take this opportunity to make sure that all the facts are on the table, and also we need to sit down as directors and leaders and figure out what our plans are going forward and have a unified front and a very clear way forward for the project. Because at the end of the day, this is a great project and we have a great team and we're building something great, and I believe in it. I think it has a great future. And so we just want to take this chance to begin to rebuild community trust. And that's really what this is all about, is answering those hard questions, being transparent, getting all the facts out on the table, and making sure we're all on the same page. So with that said, Mr. Fawn, I believe, set up a site to start to source some of the most asked questions out there that we would like to address. And I think he'll be stepping through I think Bolin will be stepping through those and just kind of asking them, and we'll sort of like be taking turns answering them. And a lot of these things will be addressed in a lot more detail over the next hour or so of this AMA. So with that said, let's proceed into that over there, Bolin.
Sure. Thank you much, Fox. And as he said, we are going to be going through these questions, and you'll hear from several of us as we go. And that's one thing that I just want to, go ahead and acknowledge, put out there, whatever you want to say. We're here as a leadership team, as the leadership team for Kingdom Studios, DeFi Kingdoms. And that's why, this grouping is on the stage together, because at the end of the day, we are here together in this project with all of you as well. And so we are a team, and that has not changed. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go through some of these questions. The first one's going to be kind of the immediate follow-up to what Fox was just talking about. What is the relationship between the defunct Loot Swap team and DFK? There have been accusations that they had a part to play in DFK.
Yeah, so this is one that I kind of touched on earlier. I've been really spending a lot of time thinking about what I want to say and what I should say and what is in the best interest of the project. And sort of like trying to think back about what was said and how and why. And I can honestly say that the intentions all along were to basically do the least amount of harm to existing projects like BootSwap. I was involved in a small way in their project. I helped to build the front end. I was a lesser known dev called Master Blacksmith. And I actually left a couple of days after it launched because of some disagreements with how it was being ran. However, after I left, that project was still an active project and still had a community, still had a lot of people that were investing in it and supporting it. And I didn't want to put them or myself in a position of saying, oh, like, here's why I left that project. Here's why I didn't like it. Here's why I thought that, like this other project is essentially trying to do all these things in a better way, all of which were true, but I didn't want to like malign other projects. So that was part of it. The other part was that this project that we built here is really a very completely separate project. Like no one else on our team had any affiliation or even like knowledge really about LootSwap. And the stuff that we set out to build was a result of me after leaving LootSwap, after like a few weeks, after just sort of like sitting down and thinking about what I didn't like about it. And I feel okay saying this now, as like LootSwap is now not an active project from what I understand. Otherwise, it's hard to say any of these bad things about other projects, but I did not like the way it was ran. I did not like the actions that were taken by the founder. And I essentially learned a lot of hard lessons about what not to do from seeing what they did. And I, spent a lot of times just sitting there thinking about what would I have done differently if it was my project. If I was the founder, what would I have done? If I was the main dev, what would I have done? And speaking with a friend, they just asked me, well, why don't you? Like, you have all these great ideas about how to make a project that has like utility and all these things, and about how to put community first and all that type of stuff. And it really got me thinking, like, yeah, well, like, why don't I do this? I have experience leading teams. I have experience in Harmony now and in crypto space. And so I was like, yeah, let's try this. So I started to put together a team of like skilled and really talented people, and we started to build it. And I was at the helm, and it felt really good to be able to make those like calls about how we do things and to really set the culture from the very start. We were strict on like creating code of conduct for our team and policies on how we trade, and always ensuring that the community came first and all those types of things. And it felt great. And the community grew, and a lot of people caught onto that vision, and it steadily increased in like users and in like value and all that stuff. And it was really satisfying to see that. And it's only because of the amazing team that we put together for this. But all that comes down to, why did I wait so long to say anything? The short answer is it would have been hard and painful to say it anytime that we said it. It was a thing that impacted me personally and not the rest of the team or the project. And so from my standpoint, in the interest of trying to protect like the projects involved, and also from my opinion of it not really being a very relevant thing because they were separate projects, I didn't say anything about it until actually right now. I had been asked straight out, are you master looter? No, I'm not. are you Forever Hobbyist? No, I'm not. I hadn't ever been asked, are you Master Blacksmith? Because honestly, I don't think very many people even knew about him. He was a lesser known dev on the project. He was me. But that is the truth of it. That's what happened. That's the intentions, and that's what I want to put out now, just to ensure that our community and everyone involved has all the facts so that they're able to have the information they need.
Awesome. I do just want to restate, just to make it as clear as possible. Are you Master Looter?
No, I'm not.
Perfect. So just, I appreciate that. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, check out in the announcements channel, there's a document with kind of the full rundown of the history. So that's the TLDR version, but there is a full breakdown available in announcements. Next question is, what is the relationship between Frisky Fox and the initial LP in Jewel 1?
Yeah, so, I answered that in the announcement from a couple days ago, but basically, I was pretty much the only one on our team at the start that really understood how everything works on a DEX, that you actually have to have initial liquidity for it to start from. And I essentially said I would take care of that, and I would provide those funds, and all the rest of the team just sort of said, yeah, that's great. And that's what I did. I sourced those funds through acquaintances who were interested in basically investing. So they kind of said, hey, I don't know anything about crypto, but I want to invest because I know that you are someone who I trust, and I would like to get in on it. And so, we do need initial liquidity. And at that time, all of the DEXs that I had seen had launched in this way, where the initial liquidity was provided, and then the rewards of that were basically the return on that investment. Since then, I've sort of seen that actually a lot of DEXs launch and they actually burn the initial liquidity. I hadn't considered that at the time that we launched. So that was how I handled that. Basically, was I set up that account, I had it get paired with 1 tokens, and I handed off that account to the acquaintance and said, okay, here's the rules. You can't ever sell the initial liquidity, but the rewards from the initial liquidity are basically the rewards that you get for that investment. And that was how it all went down. In retrospect, I do wish I'd handled that differently. I didn't really consider the idea of having them just get burnt or having them be a expense of the business that should have been handled in a different way. But the truth of it, that's how it happened, and that's basically the answer for that.
Perfect. I know you already touched on it a little bit, and it's one of the later questions anyway, so we can actually kind of go ahead and talk to it a little bit more if you want to, as far as plans for that initial liquidity now.
Yeah, so I've spoken with that person, and from their standpoint, they're like, you can have and do whatever you want with this. They are willing to do what's best for the project and for the team. Obviously, they aren't on the team, but they do really value the project, and they want to see it be a success. So from their standpoint, they're like, do whatever you want. And what we would like to do is actually burn that initial liquidity at this time, or in the short term, I guess. I still have to handle the logistics of that, but that is the plan for it.
Perfect. Appreciate that. The next question is around doxing. Will Frisky dox? I think that also applies to, will a team or members of the team or leadership of the team dox? So Fox, if you want to start that one, I think probably a couple people chime in as well.
Yeah, so this one, from the very start of the project, we've always been asked, why are you anonymous? Will you dox? And it's actually not very uncommon for teams in the crypto space to be anonymous. I think everyone's situation is like unique and different. Some people are very comfortable with doxing, others are not. So I think for the team, there will be some that are interested in doxing, others still are not interested. I myself am not in a position where I can dox because of just the concerns for my family and all that type of stuff that I basically said from the very start about like, why aren't you doxed? But we are currently like looking into what can we do as a team to have certain leaders that are willing to dox, be able to dox, and help to lend additional basically trust and confidence to the team, as well as for considerations with like stuff that we have to sign for like legal documents and for partnerships with other projects and things like that. There has to be some people that are doxed. So I guess I'll stop there and see if others on our team have any thoughts there as well.
Yeah, I'll chime in next and I'll see if anybody else would like to. Doxing is not only related to somebody's personal opinion, but as we grow and have been growing, there's been a lot of work to see, how do we need to structure ourselves to effectively solidify ourselves as the gamified trading platform, the NFT platform, and the chain that we are trying to be. And a lot of that comes with navigating the not so clear regulatory environment, the setting up of entities. We've been working with, a lot of different lawyers on that strategy for a long time now. And part of that strategy does involve an onshore entity, which we've been talking about Kingdom Studios being established and leadership there. It would be a private company, but we do need to sign NDAs. We need to sign service level agreements. We need to sign ways for us to get incentives from our partners and deploy it. We need to probably figure out an official charity. A lot of that will require many or some of the leaders you see here or future leaders to come to be doxed. I think our focus is to build. Our focus is to connect with the community, show up at events, and establish our brand and our network, and dox where people are, one, comfortable, and two, it benefits the project. So I think in the near future, as plans continue to be progressed and solidified as it relates to the entity, there will be some natural doxing as a result to those leaders that need to officially fill positions that sign and are in public. And there also may be some very significant contributors in the team that may function as contractors to Kingdom Studios that choose to stay private. And I think we should be open to and expect and support both sides of that. But I will pause for anybody else that would like to add.
All right. Well, I'll add, as I think all of you know, but if not, I would say at least the majority of you, I myself am also face doxed. It is something that, I've thought about as well. And the thing to keep in mind is just there are repercussions. Not saying that means that it never happens or that it's not worth it. But there are repercussions. There are real concerns that go into that. It's your life. And so it is a very personal decision at the same time. So I do think that is noteworthy. I think I saw somebody unmute. Did anybody want to chime in before we move on?
Yeah, I unmuted for a second. I was just going to say, basically echo those statements. There would be, an upside to doxing. And it's something we've spoken about here and there pretty consistently since the inception of this project, at least as long as I've been around since near the beginning. It is something that we do consider, something that we will probably need to do in some capacity, talking about what, focusing on those things Dreamer was mentioning. We're constantly evaluating the strategy in which that will move forward, the pros, the cons, and ultimately the benefit to the community versus the risk to ourselves individually, which can be very real. So it's a delicate balance we're trying to strike as we navigate and move forward into the future and figure out exactly what that's going to look like.
very much so. So the next question, how did the rest of the devs not realize you had a friend that had invested 15K? Same thing, Fox, if you want to start off there.
So I told the team that I would be responsible for basically providing that liquidity. I didn't mention the other acquaintance. I honestly didn't think it was super relevant at the time. I was the only one who really understood how any of that worked. In retrospect, I should have been more transparent about that. But how did they not recognize? They didn't know. It wasn't something that was asked or something that was brought up. And yeah, that's my perspective on it. Was, you know, I was responsible for providing that liquidity, and I set up the initial pairing and all that, and then handed it off. Honestly, like, no one really even thought about it, I guess, at the start. And also it was all that I had known and seen of like other experience I had with other dexes. It's how all of them had done it as well, was they had somebody provide that initial liquidity and that person earned rewards from it. So I personally didn't think it was unusual either. Later on, I actually found out that there are a lot of projects that will just burn that initial liquidity, and I hadn't considered that as even being possible at the start.
Awesome. Would anybody like to add on there?
Well, so I think a lot of our perspectives will be different. I think this is saying the other devs. There's a lot of people on the team that have come over time, and I don't think it's ever been a question to join and be like, "Tell me about this thing." I think even at the beginning, as Fox just mentioned, I think the relevant information was shared, and no other questions were asked, and no other information was shared beyond that. And it wasn't something that I think anybody knew joining the team over time, up to date, would ever come in and ask for it come up. So I just wanted to close that loop from the initial to now.
Sorry. I'll also add that this other person very much wanted to stay out of the spotlight and didn't want to be basically like a thing. They just wanted to provide this liquidity as an investment, as like a service, and earn the rewards from that, but not have to be involved, if that makes sense. So that was the other aspect there as well.
Yeah, I'll mention something. At least I think most of the other founders, you know, we had specific roles. We knew how to do pixel art or build a game or market a game or run a community. So in terms of the tokenomics and how things were set up, you know, there was a lot of stuff, you know, we're just kind of trusting to, you know, be run as best as possible. So like maybe we didn't have enough information to actually know the questions to ask in terms of the, you know, the contracts and the tokenomics of it. Like I knew games, so that's my expertise with that.
Perfect. Yeah, I think all of those are some very good insights. The next question, have the devs thought of a Jewel buyback? And actually, I'm just going to turn that one to Dreamer.
Mute button. Yeah, so buybacks, I think for those that aren't familiar with the term, in like traditional companies that might issue a public stock, you issue that stock at, let's say, price A, which is $1, and then the price drops down. So that means the company received $1 for issuing X amount of stock to the public, and then the price drops to 50. A buyback, corporate buyback, would allow you to take some of that money and buy the stock back, therefore raising price and putting back money to the holders. We currently have a treasury that is made up of Jewel, and now a new part of treasury growing in Crystal. We can't necessarily buy back Jewel with the Jewel that we have. we are thinking, and I think we've mentioned an action plan going forward. That isn't the purpose of this call, but will probably be the topic of discussion in days to come. One of those things will most likely also include, in the future, being more thoughtful about some type of stablecoin treasury that would be obviously grown in a responsible manner without impact. But if we were to relive the last 3-4 months, where we're not always just focused on price, but price does impact the operations and how we pay people. If we had a healthy treasury of non-jewel, whether that's one or a box or stablecoin token, and then price were to fluctuate, then we could think of if a buyback would even be an option. But currently, not an option, given we would just be buying jewel with jewel.
I'd also just like to add that all of that was intentional with how we set up the project, was that we wanted to build and add value to the token, and our treasury was in that token, and that was the incentive for us as a project and as a team to continue to put out our best work, because that is what ultimately would give value to our treasuries. We're all kind of in the same boat as everyone else in the community, in that we are sort of like trying to build the value of that investment for the future of the project. And that's what those treasuries were set up to do. But they are in jewels. So the value of those treasuries is directly linked to the value of the project. And that's the incentive for us as a team to add that value.
Awesome. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it. The next question, what will be done to reestablish the community trust? I'm actually going to talk about that one for a second first, and then anybody else is welcome to chime in, of course. But, one of the biggest things that we've always been focused on is our community, and that will never change. That's why we have the team of knights that we have. That's why we have the community department that we have, is our community comes first. So one of the biggest things that, we immediately did to look at reestablishing some of that trust is the governance vote, so that the community could weigh in and voice their opinions on what they wanted to see happen from this situation. So that was a big part of, just an immediate first step. Beyond that, transparency is always big with us, as y'all know. I mean, that's the whole basis of kind of what we're doing right now. And we're always looking for ways to continue increasing that. So y'all keep seeing more stuff coming with some of the transparency from us. And the other big thing that I would say is just, if you have something that you want to see, let us know. If there's something that you are looking for, something that you want to see done, something that we can improve, that's what myself and Isla are here for. So you can always reach out to us and give us suggestions, give us ideas. Y'all know what you want to see better than I know what you want to see, so tell me. But those are kind of some of the highlights. Another big thing is this website that we used for these questions. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to keep building that out, and so you're going to see more and more functionality on there, but it gives us a way to communicate with y'all and get the community's opinion on a lot of things. So like right now we have the questions and suggestions form. Obviously we've already started moving questions over to this, but we're also going to be moving suggestions over to this. So if you have something that you want to see us do in the game, a feature that you want, or a change that you would like to see made, you can list that in that suggestion section, and other community members can vote on that. So we can get a realistic idea of what a portion of our community wants to see. And that's just a little bit of the functionality that we're going to end up implementing there. We're going to keep, like, that site is actually going to be very, very big for us. I'm very excited about it, sorry. But then another big thing that we've mentioned a couple of times is, an action plan that we're already working on and that we're going to be putting out. So you'll see, what our next steps are. But that's kind of where I would stop there, is that it's always a focus, and we're looking at several ways to make sure that the community is always front and foremost in our minds and for the project. But if anybody else would like to chime in, please feel free.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just give some perspective from the build side. If I ask myself, what does the community want to see from us? They want to see us continue to deliver on the features that we've been talking about and the features that are on our roadmap. And so, I can imagine people being worried and thinking, what's happening with development? Are we still moving forward? The answer to that's unequivocally yes. And so for those of us on that side, for the directors, for everybody who's working on developing the game, what we want to do to show that we're still here and that you can believe in us as a team is we want to continue to deliver new content for you. I think everybody's kind of aware this coming Wednesday. Our plan is still to get things rolling in Crystal Vale with Gen Zeros. I believe we have the raffle tomorrow, and we're still hoping to be live Wednesday with Gen Zero Heroes and Tavern in Crystal Vale, along with the Hero Bridge. We have other things that we're working on that we've talked about in our dev updates that are coming as soon as later this month. Stonecarver, pets we're still working on. So, I think it's really important for community members to be able to work with people like Bolon, with people like Isla, to interface with us directly. I think the new website is great as well for you guys to be able to share your feedback. But on the build side, we're not always, I think, as accessible. Some of us try to come into Discord. I know you guys really enjoy when Hubert shows up, Beetle Dude on patch nights, but we're working to deliver what we promised, and we're working to deliver what you want to see, and we're going to continue to do that. That hasn't changed at all.
I'd also like to add a couple thoughts that how are we rebuilding trust? I think that the first part of that is what we're doing here. Like, we spent a lot of time internally thinking about what else? Is there anything else that we need to put out to ensure that the community has all the facts? And that's what we're doing right now, is saying this is all the things, we are still the same team. We're still the same project. We still have the same outlook. We want to continue forward with 100% transparency about everything, make sure that the origin stories of how things happen, and, at times stuff that I wish I'd done differently, but still just putting out the truth of it. These are the facts. These are what happened. These are the intentions, which were never malicious, but these are the facts. And letting the community know the facts is really the first step in building trust, is having all the facts and having that transparency. And that's why we're doing this. As Kant said, nothing has changed in terms of the team and building and the strategy and the roadmap and all that. We are pushing forward hard on all those things and continuing to build, and that's not going to change.
I think on the topic of trust as well, there have been a lot of really good suggestions and comments floating around as it relates to controls and accountability. I think, we have voluntarily made internal policies here and there, some of which around trading, some of which around, inclusion in parts of the gameplay and raffles. And we're going to continue to, focus on them, appealing to the community. But there are also things as it relates to trust. Some have proposed audits that aren't like your traditional smart contract audit, but maybe an ongoing audit of wallets versus policies that we do formalize and run by the community. That is something we are considering and looking into. It's really hard to find the right group to do that, because it does seem a little bit different than your run-of-the-mill contract auditing firm. We may also choose to beef up maybe internal compliance individuals, or we are working with external lawyers. Maybe we'll look for an internal legal counsel as well. If we look back, this feels like it's been years of my life, right? In terms of work relative to where I was before, which is very, very high demand. What we've accomplished and what we do every day and week as a team here is so much. But at the same time, we have a community who loves the product and expects us to be, 10 years past from when it started. But in reality, we're starting this and growing all together real time. So I think the good ideas and suggestions are being heard, and we're looking for ways to implement them so that we can have added controls over time, not only today, but grow as we continue to grow. and accountability to ourselves internally and to the community externally. So just wanted to make sure we included that, which has already been said offline. And there are many other like specific recommendations that I haven't touched on here, but it is a big part of building trust. Regardless of this last weekend, I think it is something that over time, as the team grows, as our success grows, as the products grow, as the impact of one individual grows or decreases, we need to adjust accordingly and make sure we all level up.
大家听得到声音吗？我这边好像有点中断。
By working hard, there are things that we have done wrong, and we're going to learn from those mistakes, and we're going to learn to prioritize a little bit better for the benefit of the community. A lot of times, because we're accomplishing something brand new, and we're doing a lot of things at the same time, we have a lot of hard decisions internally about should we focus on A or should we focus on B? And then we have to weigh the pros and cons of either path. And what we always try to do is move forward as quickly as possible for the community to provide a great product and to update that product. But this has been a great experience and a great lesson for us to learn, okay, well, maybe sometimes we need to shift some of our resources to action items that earn trust or keep trust from the community, as opposed to just trying to push out the next change or the next update or whatever the case may be. So basically, at the end of the day, we're going to work hard to earn that trust back by learning from our mistakes and pivoting to better support the community. And then I think we're also going to double down on the things we've done right and work those a little bit harder as well.
I'll just add a quick thought. I think we realized that the community doesn't really know how we work as a leadership team, how much time we spend, this group and our extended leadership team, really struggling with the hard questions, talking through the strategies, working together to make this project really great. And so I think one of our intentions as we move forward is to just let you see us as the leaders and to know that this is a whole team effort as we move forward. And Fox and Dreamer have been the most visible, and Mr. Fawn. But I just want to say to everyone, like we're all on this, and we're all fully dedicated, and have a lot of respect for each other, and a lot of respect for you. And we're moving together with a lot of great minds to solve these problems.
I also just want to add in real quick that, it's hard to have these kinds of conversations. We do want to put out all the facts, and it's hard to admit sometimes when mistakes were made in the past and when there's stuff that you wish you'd handled differently or that you had done differently. But admitting those mistakes is part of that rebuilding and also committing to do better and to emphasize on all of the many things that our team does right, which is a ton. I have so much amazement about how professional our team is and how skilled everyone is. And I have a lot of faith in them as well. And we've done some really amazing things. We have an amazing roadmap and stuff planned for the future as well. And I have the full faith that it's going to continue to be successful in the same way that it has been in the past. So how do we rebuild that trust? I think, as Zeno said, we continue to do the things that we have done that earned it in the first place. We create and we build and we grow and we are transparent and all those things. And this is part of that, and all those other things are part of that as well.
Beautiful. And if nothing else, I hope that the number of people who have just chimed in and the amount of different thoughts just go to show how important that is to us, and how much of our focus is on exactly that. So that's something that's really important, obviously, to myself because I'm a community guy, but to the entire team and to the project as a whole is you guys. So let's see, the Loot Swap connection, we already addressed that one. All right. So that...
If I could just kind of add a couple more thoughts about Loot Swap. It's not something that, like, I'm not ashamed of my connection with that project. I feel like I didn't do anything that I'm ashamed with there. I was not involved in any of the things that the community was upset about. I actually left before, or even in response to some of those things. But it was not, it was stuff that I disagreed with, and that is why I left, and that is why I did things very differently over here on my own project. So just to reiterate there that I don't like to talk bad or say bad things about other projects. We've had policies about that internally here too, is that we don't like other people to come here and bash other projects. That's not what we're about. We're not trying to necessarily compete with other projects. We're trying to just be the best that we can be and have our eyes on that and revolutionize the space. And so, that's really what it was about. And that's what is the spirit and the vision of this project, is to be different, be better, and stand out. It's a hard Band-Aid to rip off, no matter when you do it, but the longer you wait, the worse it gets. And so in the spirit of transparency, again, I'm just stating all these facts right now about what happened, why it happened, and where we're at. So I hope everyone can understand the intentions there. And if you do have more questions about that, feel free to ask, either in DMs or in chat or here or whatever, and I'll do my best to answer those as I can. Thank you.
Awesome. We are going to take some live questions if anybody is interested. We had a few other questions that were submitted, and they are still going to be in there, but they weren't on today's topic. So those questions will still be there. We'll still be looking at them, but we wanted to keep this roundtable focused to the topic at hand. So speaking of hands, if you would like to come up and ask anything about this topic, please raise your hand and we will pull some people on stage to ask any questions that are still lingering out there. Or don't. So one question then that came from the chat, but I'll just go ahead now.
I just enabled it. It was disabled, so.
Oh, good call. Hey, thanks, Tango. You're so smart. So I wondered, I was really surprised there. So we'll go ahead and pull a couple people up on stage. When you do come up on stage, please mute yourself until we get to you so that we don't have a bunch of background noise. But we are going to ask, when you come up here to ask questions, please try to keep it as to the point as possible so that we can try to get through as many questions as possible. So we want to hear your question, but the question would be lovely so that we can get to more of them. And with that, Axis Camila.
Hey, team. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can hear you.
Hello. Sorry for a little wind in the background. First off, I appreciate you guys doing an emergency meeting right away for everyone. There has been a lot of concerns and worries. I think not necessarily a question because you guys might not have the answer right now, but there's a lot of suggestions in the box, whether that's doxing a portion of the leadership team, right? Initial liquidity being burned, whatever it may be. I get that we're considering those things as a group, right? But I think the community really is going to need this to be moved. This is not in a couple months we'll make decisions. These are in a couple of weeks. So again, no need to have the answers, but because a lot has happened. A lot has happened these past couple of weeks, and it's been really tough on the community. I'm sure for you guys too. But I think we need to really move fast here, right? We really need to move fast here and know what's going to happen. So thank you. Thank you.
I'd love to just address that comment. I think something that's important is to recognize purpose of different things. So, for example, what's the purpose of this meeting? This meeting, the way you phrase it, is an emergency roundtable to be able to address the recent happenings in regards to our project and specifically in regards to Fox. A big question in a lot of people's minds is, what is the future? What is these changes that people are mentioning, we're reflecting and we're working on, and we're trying to, make changes. That's very vague. And the purpose of this meeting is not for us to produce that exact vision, but that is coming this week. We are going to be putting together a very actionable plan that we've submitted to the community for people to know. One, the big thing I think everyone needs to know is, what is our vision from here going forward? What are we going to be building? And then two, how are we going to learn from these mistakes in a very actionable way? So I hear you completely on that. I hear the community recommendations for something that's very clear, and we have already been working on that. But it is a separate topic regards to the purpose of this meeting. But if that's the rest of the questions, I'm not telling people that they can't come up and ask more questions about that if they want to. But I do just want to confirm to you, this is not months off. This is this week. The community will have actionable plans of how we're moving forward.
And I appreciate that, team. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And the next person that I invited up lowered their hand. All right. Superior Form. How's it going?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, first, I just want to thank the whole team. Frisky, I want to thank you so much for doing this. Also, I was actually one of the early joiners in Loot Swap as well, and there are some other people in the DFK community that were also early members of Loot Swap. So I just want to, again, say thank you so much for sharing all of this. My biggest question right now is, does the team have enough money? Obviously, because of the state of Jewel, and I obviously care a lot about this project, and a lot of people care a lot about this project. For us to be successful, this team needs the runway, to get there. So this has been a thought in my mind, and so the team has grown tremendously, and it's just been phenomenal. And so I just wanted to pose that to the team. Do we have enough money? How comfortable do you guys feel about the staff and everything associated with that?
Maybe I'll take this one. I will say that it's been something that we've been focused on. Anybody that has, or any project that has experienced such fluctuations in price where the treasury is based 100% in that token of fluctuating price, that isn't paying attention to this would probably be missing something, right? So we're very focused on this. We're well aware of the size of our team. We're well aware of the overhead of the amount that we needed, that we have been paying out in order to continue to function at current prices, and also at prices where we were a week ago, a week before, as well as stress testing down to prices that we haven't seen, since launch or shortly after. Those are all things that we are considering. I will say, as of today, right now, there's no immediate need to make a big change. However, we are constantly discussing, and I think with our plan going forward, it's probably going to be a much more frequent discussion as well. So if the outright question is there any change to anything right now in order to continue to function as we are, no immediate changes required. If are there potential other changes in the future based on any additional movements in the macroeconomic landscape, in the overall broad crypto landscape, or DFK specific prices, maybe we are prepared to make any decisions that are needed to ensure that we can continue to build, that we can continue to grow and sustain through whatever part of the cycle we are in.
I'd also like to add a couple thoughts here, is that we actually had a meeting yesterday about exactly this, and it it is a thing that we think about often and examine, like, what does our strategy look like? How do we do compensation? Even as we start to move more officially into the Kingdom Studios entity and how that could change things and how that could impact how we pay people and at like what levels and in what way. I've always been a fan of the mantra of build, build, build. And when you look at projects like Axes or others that originated in like the very depths of like a bear market, and they had the vision and they built, and when the market came back, they were able to reap the rewards of that. And that is a thing that we as a project are also committed to is being able to build this out, whether the markets are up or down or sideways or whatever it is, and having us be put into a spot to really capitalize on the increase of the market when that comes. Because all of us who have been in the crypto space for an extended period of time know that the markets go up, the markets go down. It's a cycle that if you zoom out, you can kind of see the trend line there, basically. So from my standpoint, nothing has changed there. We will build, whether it's up, down, or sideways. We'll continue to have that long-term outlook.
Yeah, I would add to that too. I've just seen how dedicated everyone on this team is, regardless of price impact. Obviously, it's discouraging when price goes down. We're a lot more excited and happier as price is going up, but I still see the commitment every single day. People showing up, working 8, 10, 12-hour days, getting things done and getting things out there. I would also say that, in other companies I've worked with in extended markets like this or downturns, this is when companies start looking at layoffs. And we're in a position where we're not doing that. We're not thinking about that. To the contrary, we're looking at, well, what do we need? What kind of staffing and support do we need to ensure the success of this project? We're a lot more careful with ROI at the current moment as far as who we're bringing on and what their purpose is going to be. But we're committed to doing whatever is needed to make sure this project is successful and that we have the right people in place, especially as we grow and we're supporting our own chain and we're trying to make this as successful as we can be. So again, a ton of commitment from this team and a lot of thought being put into where we're headed and how we can keep this going. So kudos to everybody.
One more thought on that is at the start of our project, we minted quite a lot of jewels to our dev fund and to the marketing fund to support the continued development of the project. At the same time, we have in-game fees and transactions that also support that. And to this date, we actually haven't had to touch a single jewel in the initial amount that had been minted. I think we're at the point where we might start to have to actually use some of those funds, but we're still in a very good place as far as that goes. We have runway to continue to build. So, yes.
And just quickly, I wanted to say this is, for most of us, if not all of us, a huge passion. So we are, in just a few words, we're committed to building and making this thing work, regardless of how we have to do it. We can figure out how to do it, and we're confident in that. And the intention is to get the work done, to build this thing, to keep going.
Perfect. I think awesome. Thank you, Superior Form. Appreciate you as always. Also, for the record, Dreamer, I was hoping you would kick that answer off. So we're going to go, the brown gent actually had his hand up first, so we're going to go to the brown gent.
Hi, thank you so much. I first want to say thank you to the team for doing this today. I was very impressed by the actions that everyone on the team, especially Dreamer, has done over the last 24 hours. I know I'm not alone in saying that I love this game. I think you guys have a lot of potential here and have done some amazing things. And I think that's why people have been so hurt. And yeah, sure, financially they can be hurt. But honestly, if Jewel was down even more, a lot of us would be okay with it because of the trust that we have in your entire team. And I think that is where the issue is. That trust got affected when everything came out. And I have two questions around that. The first is, can we consider having some sort of PR person for the team? Because the narrative in the Discord was unchecked for hours. and people who had no idea what was going on were being dragged into it, and everyone started panicking. That's the first question. The second is more around, mistakes happen. It's just how it goes. No one's expecting everyone to be perfect. I think one of the issues that myself and others have identified is, despite everything that's happened, we haven't once heard Frisky apologize. And I think that's my second question. Frisky, would you be willing to do that to the entire community? Thanks.
So I guess that's a two-part question. I'll hit the second part first. But yes, I am sorry for how things turned out, how it was handled. My intentions were good, but at times they were short-sighted. I do wish I had done it differently, and I am sorry for the impact that it's had on the trust. 100%.
I'll try to address the first part of the question. If I understood it correctly, you're asking the direct question is, are we looking to hire a new PR person? The underlying question is, in regards to this last week, we had multiple hours of silence and time when, the community was panicking due to the lack of communication. So how can we improve that level of communication to our community, especially during times of crisis? I understand that question. Yeah. Okay. So let's handle the second. Let's handle the second one first. The second part of that, the more underlying question. During a time of crisis, we personally, and as an internal team, have plans for how to handle those crises and how to respond to things. In the case of this situation, I think there was a high need for investigation and understanding of the situation, given the not only shock to the community, but also the unknowns that our internal team had. And when putting out a communication, especially during a time of crisis, I think it is imperative that that communication is well vetted by a leadership team, because a miscommunication of any sort can cause more damage than it can in respect to the way that it helps. I know that the community did not see a lot of the communication that we put out directly to our internal night team. We worked on a response guidelines for them to try and help get some presence in the community, but we needed, given the circumstances, we needed to ensure any public communication was well vetted by our leadership team in order to not increase the damage that was already occurring. As for the second part of the question in regards to hiring a PR manager, it's been a consideration on our minds for sure. We do have some good team members that are focused on the community. At the very least, I think we can learn from this and hire consultants and training on how we can respond properly and better in the future. And hiring an external PR person is not outside the realm of possibilities.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just add to that as well. And I mean, it's kind of echoing, I guess, more so than adding. But I would just echo onto that of, like, as soon as everything had started, and to Fawn's point, it's not that it wasn't being addressed. It's that we wanted to make sure that we had all of the information before attempting to address it. So we were working towards that entire time. And so that's one thing that I do think is really important, is it's not that, like, oh, just nobody knew or nobody was doing anything about it. But as Fawn said, putting out the wrong information can be worse. And so we're making sure that we had the right information to give prior to giving it. Nick Song?
Hi, everybody. This is my first crypto game, and I do not have any question. I only want to say I have a lot of fun in DeFi Kingdom. Our leader and member of Chinese channel all support you. We already all in today. And whatever you do, I support you, folks. Do not sad. And I say everybody need money. So anyway, I support you and I love DFK. Hope everything goes well and all the best. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
He was faster than I expected, so I don't have another person up here, but I'm inviting a couple right now. Oh, there's the first one. All right, J Harp.
这是那个
J Harp, you're on mute.
讲翻天啊！猛哥
Are you there, J Harp? If it might, here I'm gonna remove you back to the audience. If you'll raise your hand again, I'll just pull you right back up. Sometimes, you removed yourself. If you want to raise your hand again, I'll pull you right back up. Sometimes Discord gets fun. And while we deal with that, Maliance, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, guys? I really appreciate this time that you guys have taken to do this. I wanted to ask, in terms of how you guys have seen things go wrong and grown as a team, and what you expect going forward. We usually go by the motto of, check twice, cut once. That's usually what we've heard and seen as a community so far. And, every time it doesn't work out. So in terms of outside of the obvious, things that have happened, like the jewel mining or the API for the tavern, learning those differences there. What are some other things going forward that you want to work on more so to make sure things happen and keep everybody in high spirits?
There's a lot of things we've been changing in terms of how certain projects and features will be created and put out, trying to put more emphasis on the economics of things to ensure that each new feature drives the right behavior we want to see. In terms of bugs and ensuring there aren't any bugs released, we've added a pretty rigorous QA process. We've also in the short term, I think probably Mr. Khan can talk more about this, but we've changed up a lot of how we do our deployments so that it's more involved. There's less single points of failure. It's more like a collaborative effort for those things with checks and balances. And he could probably speak to more of that, I think. I saw him unmute earlier, so Mr. Khan.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing I'll address is that the root of what I feel your question is, and tell me if I'm wrong, is you're feeling like you need a little bit more of details about how we're going to improve going forward, rather than hearing, we're just, we're going to learn and improve. Am I feeling that right?
Personally, I'm trying to ask this question for the community. I believe in the team. I think everything is a learning curve, and I've seen how things have adjusted in time. But I feel like hearing about how we've improved those things since the start concept would be good for a lot of people that are newer or that maybe have some concerns by the things that have happened recently.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll rephrase that. We're going to be having a published release of a lot of actionable items that we're going to be taking. If your question is more focused on in the previous weeks, what have we been doing to improve the security and protection of our products? One action step we've been putting together and working through is we're attempting to establish a very consistent on retainer audit partner in regards to the smart contracts. That is in the works and almost finished to have them, available on a weekly or bi-weekly basis for all content going forward, rather than having to, find the audit partner at the time of release, and therefore allowing us to maintain the efficiency that our community demands. I liked your phrase at the beginning, I can't remember exactly, the look twice, cut once, in regards to the processes of smart contract deployments. That's where I'm working for the last few months. I can speak a little bit to that. We are beginning to leverage extensively the Open Zeppelin Defender platform, which allows us to keep a very good history and really place in strong processes around contract deployments and contract upgrades that are controlled by multi-sigs, kind of pulling that power out of the hands of any individual is really important inside of crypto space. So that's some of the few things. I think more actionable items are going to come in our announcement, but to Fox's point, our QA process has been improved dramatically in the last 3 months with the allocation of a full-time team member to just that process and other things we have done.
All right, thank you guys. And I just want to say, Fox, make sure you don't go anywhere.
Appreciate it, Malliance.
I'm not planning on it. If I have always said, like, I love this project. I've been working probably 80-hour weeks since it started. It's been like the most hardest work I've ever done. I'm very proud of how far we've come as a project and as a team. And I'm proud of what we've done and what we're planning to do. And I believe in the future. And I want to continue to build and to contribute in whatever way is best for the project and the team. And I'm really committed to that.
Appreciate you as always, Fox. Jay Hart, can we hear you this time? Let's see. It's letting you come off mute, but we can't.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now we can.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I just want to say something really quickly. Nick's song and the Brown Gent kind of made my sentiments before I got on. It's a great project, Frisky. The community appreciates you. Actually, yesterday, I actually got a few heroes below 100. I would never thought I would got heroes below 100. But I just want to let you know, and with the community also, who's involved, we all appreciate you. You made some mistakes in the beginning. It sounded like something with Facebook, with the seed money or anything with a startup. I think with the project blew up, and, you just got busy. And like you said, you've been working, and hindsight's 2020. We all make mistakes. If you look back now, you said, "Oh, I would have done something different." Said, "Oh, I gave someone who wanted to invest $15,000, or they gave me $15,000. I wanted to do something different." You would have did it differently, but we're here now, and it's being addressed. And I just want to let you guys know that this is a great project, and I will continue to support. And just wait for the Gen Zeros to come out, and everything else in the next month or two. That's it.
Appreciate you, Jay Hart. Thank you much. And we are going to go to Aiden. I'm just going to stop there. Aiden, how's it going?
Hey, how are you guys? First of all, love everything you guys are doing. Fully supportive of the project. This question is to Frisky Fox. I think it was Saturday night when things were going down. You put up a post putting your position within DFK up for a vote in terms of what role. From my point of view, just with my experience, like, we would love for you to step up and be confident and show a way forward instead of putting yourself in a position where you might step down. I think that caused a lot more concern on disruption to whether it be price and confidence, etc. I just want to kind of learn from you why you decided to kind of put that post up and put your position possibly up for a vote versus doubling down, kind of looking forward and say you made some mistakes and these are way forwards. Thanks again.
Yeah. I guess first of all, I'll say that the previous night prior to that, we were up all night doing the fix for the jewel mining. I got a couple hours of sleep and then went all day the next day and was exhausted. And I finally fell asleep at around 10. And then I got a call at 11, about an hour later, that, this other thing now is happening on Discord. So I was pretty exhausted at the time. I was also distraught in terms of, like, I don't want mistakes that I have made to impact the project and the team, because really there are things that I would have done differently, that I didn't have enough, I guess, like, foresight to do it in a different way at the time, that in retrospect and hindsight being 2020, I would have done differently. I didn't want those to impact this project that I loved and the team that I loved and the community that I loved. And I thought to myself, if me being here because of the mistakes that I had made in the past and the stuff that I would have done differently, if that is more harm than good to the project, then even though I love this project and I will continue to support and build it in any way I can, if that is the case that I'm doing more harm than good, then I would not want to harm it. And I think, after that, I did think about it more about what optics that sends. Like, I'm not trying to look for an out or trying to say that I'm not here for the long term or like wanting to work here for the long term. I do, and I am here. And I do want to send that message that, I am very, very proud of what I've done over the past 9 or actually, I guess almost a year since I started to conceive this project and what has been built. I believe in the vision in the future. I believe in our team. I'm proud of all of the work I've done and all of the work that all of like the team has done too. And I do, I guess, just sort of like want to restate that I want to make sure that I'm not harming the project, that I'm always helping it in whatever capacity I can. So that was my thought process. I do apologize to those that might have been like hurt by that, like, oh, like how could he even consider doing that? But that was really the thought process, was I just want to make sure that the project that I love and care about is always at the forefront of whatever I do.
If I could just add as well, I observed Fox in his leadership role for a long time. I greatly respect him and learn from the way he does things. I have seen leaders sit in a room or lead a group or a company where they don't care what people think, and they think that they have the best solution no matter what, and whether people complain or revenue or price or other things fluctuate, they kind of put their heads down and they don't even listen. Fox has incredible ideas. I think all of us are here because of that. But he also looks around and makes sure that we get the best idea. That might come from somebody else. He also wants to make sure that we are all functioning as a collective unit, including a unit with the community. That's why he has pushed to have these frequent AMAs and roundtables and everything. So although one could look at that vote and say, I saw some comments saying like he wants an out or giving up, you could also look at that and say, we've never had a vote like that before. A lot of people have come to DeFi Kingdoms, maybe not because of Fox in later stages, and are like, quote unquote, defaulting to him being there. Now people had a chance to say, here's the incredible things that have come from his, fruits of his labors and the team that supports him. And here's a couple things that have popped up that are big, that are affecting things. How do you feel? Express your support or express your concern. So I think, what we've seen so far in the initial vote is an overwhelming expression of support. Going forward, for Fox's mindset, for the leadership mindset, for the community, to have an official representation of support or an official representation of something different feels a lot better than leaving it go unsaid or having no facts or data around it. So I was in the call when that was being discussed. Although Fox was supportive, there were other people that were counseled, and we do function as a leadership group on these big decisions. And I think we did lean more on, trusting the community. And if the community did decide in favor of what I personally would have voted to keep Fox in his role and continue to work together and grow, it would, in the end, probably be a better, selling point to the onlookers that we do have his back and that we function as a leadership group and as a project and as a full community as one kind of unified group. If that is an probably long-winded comment to add.
I also have a couple other quick thoughts, but at the time, I really believe that there was some campaigns, about FUD. A lot of the people who came into our Discord and were very vocal are people I hadn't ever heard of before, but a lot of the comments that were being put out at that time were very concerning. It almost seemed like the majority of people were concerned. And I think that's part of what informed this vote as well, is does the community really in a majority feel this way? And so it was to sort of say, of all of those that are in our community, how do you feel about this? Is it a big deal? Is it not? What would you like to see happen, if anything? And it was just really to gauge that, because at the end of the day, even though I believe that I'm I have actually done a very good job in this role and that I have a lot to continue to provide. I don't want to be in the role if literally everyone else in the community thinks that it's a bad idea. So the stuff with the vote really showed us that even though there was a lot of very outspoken and really vocal comments about this stuff, about it, I guess just the sentiment just sort of being very, very negative, even though it was a case of that on Twitter and over in our Discord, that the actual community that voted actually felt very strongly in the other direction, that they didn't want to see any change and that all of this is a thing that they just want to see improved on, but that they still had the faith in that. And I think that was the thing that we didn't really know at the time because of all that, but seeing that in the vote reflected helps us to have the actual context of what the people really think, and that's important.
Got it. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Aiden. And I did just want to tack on real quick, kind of something that we've said before, but I think is always worth repeating. Ultimately, the whole team is here for you. We are here to serve the community. And so that was a major part of that thought process, was ultimately it can be the community's decision. So I just wanted to reemphasize that of, when we look at these kinds of things and pretty much everything, it's with the community in mind. And so that was a large part of the thought process that went into that as well. Jay Crypto?
Hey, good morning. Thanks, everyone. I'm just wondering if Fox is willing to provide any more details about exactly who the person was who provided the initial liquidity. I'm not asking for names or anything like that, obviously, but are we talking about an in real life friend, somebody, a family member? There have been some accusations that maybe, as ridiculous as they may seem, it was Fox himself who set that up. So that's my first question, if he's willing to provide just any more details at all. And the second is, what about the locked jewel in that account? That account, I believe now, I think is the largest locked jewel holder. Will that locked jewel be burned, or is there any plans for that locked jewel? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. It's basically the same as what I've said before. It was an acquaintance in real life, somebody that I knew. And I did set up that account for them. They didn't know how to do crypto. They had money to invest, but they had no idea how to get into it. I set that up. I paired the liquidity and all that, and I was essentially managing it in their behalf until we started to have those internal policies that were more strongly about, hey, let's make sure that everything we're doing is above the board, above reproach. One of those things that we wanted to do was make sure that we weren't doing multiple accounts or that anyone was managing multiple accounts. So at that time, I handed that off and said, look, I can't manage this. It's not really even mine. It has to be managed by you, basically. So at that point, that's what I did, and that's how it transitioned. So yeah, I mean, it was I think that was a couple or a few weeks after it launched, prior to us doing the Gen Zero sale or any of those other things at that time. So all of that was, handled by the other person that was managing that essentially from then forward. And I haven't had any input really into that. So as far as the second part of your question, the locked jewels, I'm not sure if that's the largest locked jewel. It sounds like it could be. I haven't really verified those numbers. But I do know that speaking with this person, which I have, they want to basically do whatever is best for the project, for the team, and the community. And they're totally fine with having the initial liquidity get burned. The locked jewels, they are also just basically saying do what you want with whatever's in there. I haven't really thought about what to do with those. One potential could be to maybe transfer those to like the treasury wallets for our team, for like having us to continue to fund for the longer term the development of the project. Another thing could be to put those into some kind of a multi-sig for the future for community. I'm not sure what that looks like. I haven't really spent a lot of time considering that yet, but I can say that person is basically like willing to do whatever is best for that. Like there are other implications, like with taxes that have already been paid, and like other assets in there that were sort of like recompounded, that will be trickier to try to figure out too, because there's just stuff involved from like the like legal and the tax standpoint of who owns those and how they get disposed of, I guess. But yeah, that's what I know right now. That's what I can say.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, J Crypto. I do just want to throw out there, we have essentially we allocated up to about an hour and a half for this, so we will have to wrap up here shortly. But I was going to see if we might be able to grab at least one more question, but everybody that I'm inviting up is lowering their hand. Funk Flex, love the name.
This question is about community. Funk Flex is for the community, right? So it might be applicable. Yeah, look, I think I'm like everyone else. We support you guys. I don't think that there was like ill will. There's some really smart guys involved in the project. And I think if you're looking for community reps, like be really mindful of who that could be. I know someone was talking about Twitter earlier. I don't know. Like I saw some questions posed earlier, but like I think like there's some pretty prominent guys like Z who's out there. He could make a really great community rep. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying it's like an AMA. It's like, are you guys kind of putting that into your questions and thinking about bringing in someone who, I don't know, like they really understand the community well. I think they understand from being in other projects, like what it'll take for something to really, I hate to put it this way, but just to like turn around, because I think a lot of people are probably in the similar mindset to me where it's like, I'm drinking coffee and I'm going, man, I want to give these guys like one last shot because I really believe in them. You guys all sound pretty honest. But you really do need someone who understands the community, I think, to really work with you guys. Because, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that you guys did well, and I support, and now it's just kind of like, I don't know what to do. So that was a lot, but I'm like, that's my question is how are you thinking about adding like a potential community rep who can really kind of speak on behalf of people involved? That's pretty much it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks. I have a few thoughts there to share. From the very start, I've wanted to involve the community as much as possible in like the stuff we do. That's part of why we have all of the votes we've had in the past. But even like trying to envision how the project is set up in terms of like, could there be more aspects that are more like a DAO where perhaps like somebody from the community could be more involved and perhaps even like helping to fill a spot on the board that is eventually set up, or maybe they would hold a multi-sig key for like some of the things that get done with our like wallets and funds or smart contracts, things like that. I think it's important to have representation from the community itself directly. Also, as you said, there's some very skilled and experienced and influential Twitter people that are there. We also have very, very smart and experienced and good members of the DFK DAO, which is a community-led organization there as well. That could be like really good for those sorts of things as well. All of those things are things I would love to see. Like that's really what has been like the goal and like the vision of this since the very start. So I am totally on board with things like that.
Yeah, I do just want to add as well, at least in the meantime, that is something that Isla and I also take on as, parts of our role as well. So again, I know I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. If y'all have thoughts, if you have suggestions, if you have ideas, please do bring them to us. And they do get passed on. And same with all the nights as well. So that's one thing, that we do currently is try to do our best to gauge that community sentiment from our current communities. So that is also, something that we're doing actively. And I would encourage everybody to continue that. So please do bring anything to us that you have as well.
If I could just add, I think the suggestions that have been really good, that would, funnel through the nights or Volan, Isla, others. I think we should continue to think about how that could pan out, because although there are some great influential people or people that understand the community, we also want to make sure it's a collective choice. If the solution is to handpick one person or somebody else that was highlighted at some point in time, and then there's no change and no connectivity, then there's not really good ongoing controls, right? And if we look at various governments and how they do things, there's not a perfect way to do that either. But I do think this isn't something we're going to answer live here. It is something that we've all heard Fox say. I've heard him say it a number of times in the past, finding ways to have members of the community that aren't necessarily perfectly on the team and on the payroll, but still have a say in certain things and keep us connected. I think we're a lot closer to, and now even more incentivized to find good solutions there. That, as Fawn mentioned, kind of your action plan this week, that is an item that we're probably going to be looking at progressing in terms of detail and getting feedback in the community, how that would look. So didn't want it to be, it sounds like a great idea. Only I think it's an idea that we're working on. If there are ideas out there, please share them. And it is something we would like to progress on in I think as mentioned before, not the months look out, but in more of the coming weeks to define further and progress it.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Funk. And we're going to do one last question from I Am That, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. So this is not a question, it's just a comment, I think. So I think if Frisky had been overly transparent at the very start, DFK would not have reached where it has reached now. I think being overly transparent may not be the best strategy all the time. So from my point of view, there is no mistake as such. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I've also been really thinking a lot about that recently, about how hindsight is 2020. Is it a big deal that I was involved with Loot Swap in the role that I played? I don't think it is. I think the part of it that is a big deal is that it wasn't brought up or addressed for so long. If it had been addressed out the gate, it would have been those things. It would have been a short term. I don't know if I like that, or I don't know. Or it could create a feud of sorts with us and Loot Swap or others, or it could hurt other projects, which I also wanted to avoid. But in hindsight, having that Band-Aid get ripped earlier would have been better. And I do wish I had done that differently. I do apologize for not having, the foresight to handle that in a different way. And it's the same thing with this thing with the initial liquidity. In hindsight, I would have done it completely differently. It's stuff like that where, even though I think I've made many correct and very right calls that were inspired, there are some things that I wish I had done differently, and those are some of them. I'm not perfect. I strive to do what's best at every step of the way for the project, and I will commit to learning and improving every step of the way too, as individual and as a team. That's what we're all about. So I do appreciate that, and all of the words of encouragement that I've received over the past few days. I know there's steps that we are always doing to improve and to change, and that will always continue. So, thank you.
Awesome. So at this point, we are going to wrap up. I just wanted to say, as always, thank you to everyone who's tuned in, and thanks to everybody for being here today. We really do appreciate you guys. The team appreciates the community, and the community appreciates the team. It's a beautiful relationship. But I just wanted to give it a second for anyone to add any last thoughts, and then I figured we would let Fox close us out.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for being with us, for being here during this 90-minute AMA, all 1,300 of you. We appreciate the support, and we appreciate the opportunity that you have given us to build something really amazing, something really creative, something really fun, fresh, new. There's just no real limit to the upside of what we can do here. And we absolutely do appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
I want to share my personal experience through this whole thing. There's a lot of people on the stage that are really, really talented, experienced leaders. And oftentimes when we're all going 100 miles an hour, 80 hours a week in different directions to deliver all the things that we're entrusted with and work with our really talented team, I don't think we see how well we come together in hard times. And for many months, it was all-time high after all-time high, and new feature and first new event and first expansion and all this. And we're just, get in the habit of high-fiving. And as we have a bit of hard things in the world and crypto and the stock market and all financial markets, as well as harmony in the project, now it's we're learning different muscles. We're learning muscles that we didn't know were there or were not. They're muscles of support, understanding, reactivity, keeping a level head, lifting each other up, finding good solutions that aren't solutions to innovate and change with abundant resources, but solutions to make sure that we can continue to survive, identify issues, find solutions, reprioritize. And I just want to applaud everybody that you see here and everybody that you don't, and many people in the community as well that are choosing to ask the hard questions in a respectful way to help us find good solutions and really just partner in the progress. Like in a traditional relationship, you don't really know how good of a relationship you have until you hit hard times and see how you look out for each other. And I've been learning that from many of the people that we see here, not only Fox, but many others. And it makes me love and appreciate them even more. I've been seeing people in the community. It's easy to say, oh, cool, jewel to the moon and all these things. And we've made money, or we've had success, or we're having fun. It's really touching to see. I still believe in these things. I'm looking for this. Please, can we make sure we deliver these things? This is what I'm concerned about. Do we have a solution? Oh, you have thought about it. Oh, you haven't. That's where the fluff is kind of all wiped away, and we see people's true colors come out. And I just want to say that I appreciate the true colors I've seen on the leadership team, in the community, from Fox. And I hope that we continue to build those muscles so that when we have continued progress, either as a world or a space, a chain or a team, if you think about it, we can only go higher if in the lows we get stronger.
Could not agree more. Last call for anybody else? All right, Fox.
Yeah, no, I just want to reiterate a lot of what was said. We have a great team. We've built something amazing. We have an amazing product, and our community is beyond a doubt in my mind, hands down, the best out there in the crypto space. I've been impressed every single step of the way with how amazing everyone is here. It's hard when all of the markets are down, on top of other like mistakes and things that are being addressed that should have and could have been done better. And it's hard to have those conversations about what went wrong and what will be improved and what things we put in place to make sure that stuff like that can't and won't ever happen again. Stuff from our very, very early days of even pre-launch, basically. I'm very proud of how our project has been ran the entire time since it has launched. It's been an amazing product, and we've always valued the input of the community. We've created a strong team. I'm sincerely and very proud of all that. I feel like it's amazing to see the fruits of all of the effort I put in, and also everyone on our team as well, and in the community. So I'm very excited for the future. I think we have amazing things that are really close to putting out. We've been very thoughtful with the economics of things and how these new things that are being launched will impact the utility of our assets and all that type of stuff as well. So looking forward to the future and looking forward to implementing all these action points that are going to be on the action plan that we're going to release later that will only improve our project from here on out. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who came and for your support, and for all those that have been here since the start and all those that are new. We are here for you. That's really what it's about, is every step of the way we always ask ourselves, how will this impact our project? How will this impact our community members? We always want to do what's best for that. And that's where we're at here. So I appreciate everyone's support. I apologize for the mistakes I've made in the past. And I look forward to our really bright future as well. So thank you. And thanks for coming. And I guess that's it for me. Bullish.
There it is. Bullish.
I wasn't sure if it was it's not a traditional AMA, but I am and always do remain very bullish. So thank you.
And otherwise. I think I'm going to say it too. Bullish.
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 Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Hello， 直播应该结束喽。大家有什么问题吗？目前看起来，就是讲完之后，币价稍微有回升了一点，然后开始讲的时候大概是 1.56 吧，现在已经升到 1.9 了，就可以持续关注啦，因为我觉得项目方的确持续不断的在更新嘛，那明天应该是会讲那个 Crystal File 君临 Hero 的更新或是抽奖吧，对啊，所以可能会有一波小高潮吧，但是还是要控制一下自己的资产配置。那如果没有什么问题，晚安咯。现在亚洲时间已经12:40了，直播也1个小时，将近快2个小时了。好，大家拜拜，晚安，早点睡哦，明天继续加油吧，再会，拜拜。晚安，晚安，拜拜。